See, I knew you didn't want to watch a video of the air vent in my van. Um, hey there, amateur theology podcast listeners and or fans and or people who have never heard of it before but decided to tune into a live stream because you got nothing better to do. I don't know. Hi Huff, how you doing? I am doing just a little chat here. I'm sitting in the van and I am waiting for my son to be done with preschool. I'm getting stuttering at the video I'm looking at. Anyway, so I'm waiting for my son to get done with preschool, and I wanted to just put this video out because one of the things that I am super excited about when it comes to my podcast, to the Amateur Theology Podcast, is feedback and involvement from the community, from the listeners. So I am going to use this few minutes that I have here to encourage you to go on the website at amateurtheology.com and comment on any of the blog posts or on the episode posts that I have posted so far. Send me messages on Twitter. I'm at Amateur Theolog on Twitter, which you should obviously know if you're watching this on Twitter Live. You can find me on Facebook. You can search me, Matt McGraw, on Facebook, Matthew McGraw. I don't have a Facebook for the ATCast just yet, but it's something that I'm considering. And I'd love for you to send me email. You can send me email atcast@thestrangeland.net. Thestrangeland.net is a domain that my family, my wife and I created when we first got married, and it's how we run all of our email, and it's how I host all my websites, and so ATCast, Amateur Theology Podcast, ATCast at thestrangeland.net. I want to know what you're thinking / feeling / how you're experiencing the podcast. I would love to get your thoughts. And we have a new episode that I'm working on right now. It's supposed to come out the second Thursday in February, which I don't have the date right now, but tomorrow is the 1st. Tomorrow's the 1st? Tomorrow's the 1st of February. So that means that Thursday is the 2nd. So that'll be the first Thursday. That means a week from Thursday, we're supposed to release this next episode. This will be episode 2 of the podcast. And we're talking about God. That is our title. Our title so far is God. And I want to spend some time talking about the different ways people have described God, different theologies of God, whether it's a classic monotheism or a pantheism or a more process approach. Just I want to take some time to just delve into this concept of God and what do we mean when we say God. So that's the topic that I'm hoping for. I have possibly a guest host. I have somebody that's expressed some interest. Danny, if you're watching, let's get in touch so we can talk about this. If you're just joining me, welcome to this live stream. My name is Matt McGraw, and I host the Amateur Theology Podcast. Buenas tardes, Beto. Hola, amigo. Welcome, bienvenido. I am the host of the Amateur Theology Podcast, which you can find online at amateurtheology.com. And I'm just taking a few minutes here to kind of reach out to the audience. The other thing that I really want to encourage you to give me feedback on is this whole idea of doing a book club. I have floated the idea on my podcast, and I want to float it again. This idea that as a group, we could read a book and discuss it in a live podcast forum type of deal. I don't know if that sounds interesting to you. There's 2 books right now that I'm proposing that we could take a look at together as a group. The first one is written by John Dominic Crossan and Marcus Borg, and it is called, I'm blanking, The Real Paul, I believe. Basically, John and Marcus take a look at the writings of the Apostle Paul and try to understand him as a first century Jewish Christian mystic, and not as the pastoral voice of the religious right. And so I think that's an interesting take on Paul, and I'm excited about that book. If you check the podcast notes for my last episode, which was episode 1, you can find that at amateurtheology.com/1, the number 1. You can find a link to both these books. This book about Paul, and the other one is called The Teaching of the 12, and it's a book about an ancient Christian writing called the Didache, and the Didache is a writing that was used for sort of a summary of Christian values in the first century church, and it was passed around to many different congregations and house churches, and it was sort of before the Bible was canonized. They had this work called the Didache, which sort of encapsulated what it meant to be a Christian. That's ATCast. It stands for Amateur Theology Podcast. So ATCast is the email. Thanks for that question. Again, you can find it online at amateurtheology.com. So the Didache. So it's an ancient document. I can't remember if it was originally written in Greek or Armenian or Hebrew. But this book, The Teaching of the 12 by Tony Jones, includes a new translation of the Didache by Tony, and then he writes about what it meant to live in a Didache community, what it meant in terms of how those people were to follow Christ. So that's the other book that I'm thinking it might be interesting to take a look at with you guys. So again, hit me up on Twitter, hit me up on my email, go to the website and leave a comment on the last episode, and let me know if you think doing a book club at all would be interesting, and if either of the books that I've mentioned are interesting, and if so, which one would you prefer? That would be great if you could let me know what your thoughts are. So anyway, thank you for taking the time to watch this video, and I hope y'all are having a blessed day, and grace and peace. I'll talk to you guys later.